And now we have our legislative councillors in the legislative council, the so-called pan-Dem camp, pan-democratic camp. We have more than 1/3 of the seats, but that will only be they will only be able to veto the kind of universal suffrage system with Chinese characteristics. But what might be the result? The result is that we will continue to use the small circle election as in 2012 that has elected CY Leung. So likely that if we veto such a thing, we will continue to have this system not able to go forward because it's not a legitimate government. So we must do something more in order to get what we want. So that is the idea of Occupy Central. The Occupy Central is a civil disobedience movement. I am very much inspired by the work of the civil rights leader, the American civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., that in the 60s, in the last century, he led the civil rights movement in the United States, and also using civil disobedience to strive for equal rights for the black population in the United States, the minorities of the people in the United States. So what do you mean by civil disobedience? The key thing is that it's non-violence. Firstly, it's illegal. I have to mention that. It's illegal. You're doing something illegal. And but it is not just going to the convenience store to 7-Eleven, just pick a packet of chocolate and then walk away. That's not civil disobedience. That's illegal, but that's not civil disobedience because it's illegal, non-violent, but for justice. And to strive for democracy for Hong Kong, it is for the justice for all Hong Kong people, including everyone, every person in the community, including the minorities in Hong Kong. So that is an action by organizing a civil disobedience movement, non-violent, illegal, but limited for a purpose of justice. And also one thing is important is that we accept to bear the legal responsibility for breaching the law. As people question me that, oh Benny, you teach law in the university and you are now advocating people to breach the law. Are you going against the rule of law? I think Audrey has already explained that the idea of the rule of law is not merely complying with the law blindly. Complying with the law is important, but it's only a part of it. Rule of law is not merely just having a set of rules there for people to follow and for the government to enforce. Rule of law is to have a set of law that can serve justice. And if the existing system of law cannot serve justice, surely we should try our very best to exhaust all the legal means to change it. But if the injustice of the system prevent us from changing the law, the existing unjust law to just law, what can we do about it? What we can do is to use civil disobedience to cause the attention of the whole population, the importance of changing the unjust law for the justice of the whole community. So that is the reason why civil disobedience is compatible with the rule of law idea. Actually, last week I have a discussion with the mainland scholars on the Occupy Central and the rule of law, and they're still using the kind of rule of law, what Audrey said, the kind of rule of law, and not really rule of law ideas, rule by law idea in China, and trying to see the Occupy Central movement. What we are advocating is actually for the rule of law of Hong Kong, to allow Hong Kong's rule of law to advance forward, to have a higher level of rule of law, that the law can serve justice. So it is compatible with rule of law, civil disobedience. Now the actual acts of civil disobedience we are talking about, now we are not saying that we are going to Occupy Central now, because we have not yet exhausted the legal means. That's a condition for civil disobedience, that you must exhaust the existing legal means, and we are still in that process. Now, when at the final point, the government put forth a proposal on the CE election with only a kind of Chinese characteristics of universal suffrage that cannot satisfy the international standards on universal suffrage. Now, then we may resort to civil disobedience. Now, the kinds of acts we are talking about, we want to have at least 10,000 people occupy the main street in the central district. Why 10,000? Because that will be a number that the police cannot easily remove us away. Now, if you have only 1,000, I think they can still do that. But if you have 10,000, it's not possible unless they have tear gas upon us, or even using water cannon, these kind of things. Now, but that will further delegitimize the government, because we want to show to the whole world and the society that how illegitimate this government is, how this government treats its own people who are peaceful, non-violent, just asking for democracy. So we have to have that number, that 10,000, and we are still waiting for that number to adding up that number. And I'll talk more about how we try to do that. And now, and also, as Hong Kong system, I think we agree that we achieve a certain level of rule of law already. So we respect the legal system. So we are willing to be arrested and willing to be prosecuted and prepared to be imprisoned for the act we done, so as to arouse the concern or the awareness of Hong Kong people. Now, that may be not the majority now seeing the importance of universal suffrage in Hong Kong, and so we just hope that through the acts we do, that we were able to get the attention and the sympathy and the support of the majority of Hong Kong people. And you could get that, the system will be able to change. Now, but in preparing for that final act, or in a way to prevent ourselves really need to go to the street at that final point, that's something we are now organizing, because we hope that through the work of the civil society together, that we may be able to generate sufficient political pressure on the Chinese government to allow Hong Kong people to have the true universal suffrage. And the thing we are doing now is we will have a deliberation day on the 6th of May. And maybe I'll have to talk a little bit more about deliberation, the idea of deliberation. We have talked about democracy. Now, democracy, many people consider is just, yes, it's the right to vote. That is only a part of democracy. And we have also seen the problem of democracy in other countries, that yes, the people vote, but yes, they have the right to vote, but after they have exercised their right to vote, they seem to have forgotten their rights, and they just leave all the decision-making powers to the elected politicians. So, in the development of the idea of democracy, now we are talking about something called deliberative democracy. Deliberative democracy emphasizes the participation of the people. Even after you have elected your leaders, you have a right as well as duties to continue to participate in the decision-making process of the government. So that's why we introduce this idea of deliberation into our whole movement. That we want not just the whole thing be decided by the leaders, but by everyone who agree with the vision of the movement. So we hope that there will be people together who share the same idea about democracy, the importance of democracy to Hong Kong, to come together to deliberate on the actual proposal on the CE election. And I think arrangement for today, I know that you are going to have the taste of deliberation. We have our facilitators here that who have assisted us in the past deliberation days, and they are going to guide you in or facilitate a discussion among yourself on the importance of universal suffrage in Hong Kong. And so after your deliberation today, have the first taste of deliberation today, I hope that you can join our deliberation day on the 6th of May. And I think we have a letter prepared, and this is an invitation for every one of you here to join our Deliberation Day free, or the so-called the Constitutional Reform Deliberation Day on the 6th of May. On that day, after deliberation, you will choose one proposal among many proposals now available in the market that you think will be you support, and the top three proposals from the Deliberation Day free will be the proposal that will be voted by Hong Kong people in the civil referendum day on the 22nd June. And there will be one proposal coming out from that. And that will be the proposal of universal suffrage that we will strive for, the movement will strive for. And we hope that that can have more people in Hong Kong joining together to support this movement for Hong Kong's democracy, and hoping that this movement will break the deadlock, and we can the Hong Kong can move forward after we can have universal suffrage and a legitimate government. So thank you.